everyone, it's Bethany, and in this tutorial I'm going to be making a label for the front of this journal. So I had this idea today that, and it's not an original idea, I feel like a lot of people are doing it, but I thought it would be wise at this point to start documenting our daily life and what that looks like right now, and I thought it'd be fun to do that with Polaroids. So since we're all still doing the stay-at-home order and everyone's still staying cozy at home and life is looking very much different from what we are very used to, I thought it would just be a good idea just for our children to just start documenting what's happening and what life is looking like visually through pictures now. So I have this sweet little notebook. It's just a small little one, and I spent the first 3 pages kind of documenting just a little bit about what's happening, and I thought it would be kind of interesting to state some of the facts and statistics and things like that. Just to, I just kind of feel like, and my mom has also said this as well, that someday this is going to be a history assignment for these kids. So I thought it would be really interesting just that they can know firsthand from their mama what life was like, because my girls will be too young to remember. So what I'm going to show you today is I have this notebook, and what I'm going to do is use some smart labels. So we'll use that with the Joy and the Joy pen, and I'm going to make a little label for the front of this journal just so this can be our little dedicated journal. And my plan is I spent the first 3 pages just kind of writing out what life looks like and how things are different, and then the rest of the pages are just going to be filled with little snapshots of our day-to-day life and what that looks like now, and then with little tiny captions just outlining what's happening in the photo. So I'm using this little camera here. I'll link it below. It's a fun little camera that we like to use at our house just to take little snapshots. And other things you're going to need are a notebook, a camera if you want to do this idea, or use whatever camera you have. What's nice about this is kids can get really excited about it because you can show them how it's instant and how the little photo, you know, comes up, and then they get really excited about shaking it themselves, and it's just makes everything so much fun. So I would recommend doing something like this just because it ends up being a crowd pleaser for everyone, plus it's just really vintage and nostalgic. Other things that you're going to need are measuring tape. We're just going to measure real quick. You'll need some smart vinyl and the Cricut Joy, and then I'm using the Cricut Joy pen that came with it. This pen is the Fine Point .4, and it's the black. Okay, so before we get to design space, what we're going to do is we're just going to measure our space here. It looks like we have a width of 5 inches and a height of 7, and I think I want my label to be about 3 inches by maybe 2 inches. So 3 by 2. Okay, so I'll also link this little notebook too, where I got this. I really, really like it. It's so pretty, and I think it's just kind of a little classic look too. So let's go ahead and hop into Design Space. I'm going to show you how we're going to design this label and how we will differentiate what part gets cut, what part gets written with the pen, and we'll get it all ready to go so we can demonstrate it on the Joy. All right, let's get started.
Okay, so here we are in Cricut Design Space, and what we're going to do is we are going to first bring a label into the canvas. So there is a really easy way to do this. You can just click on images, and what you'll do is you will just type in labels right into the search engine, and tons of results will pop up and options for you. I think the one I used for this is going to be called Classic Label. So I'm going to add Classic to mine, and it still is a ton, but it might just help narrow down looking for the one I chose. So it's this one right here. So I'm going to go ahead and select it, and then I'm going to say Insert Images. So that will place that right into my canvas. So now what I'm going to do is, I really like this design because if you remember, my notebook has more of a lattice pattern on the front. So I thought this would pair really nicely with it. It's still nice and dressy and has a little bit of movement to it, but it's not going to overpower the pattern and take away the beautiful pattern design. So I'm going to use this one. Go ahead and choose whatever one you would like. What I'm first going to do is I will go ahead and grab this, and I am going to ungroup, and I am going to grab the bottom layer, and I'm going to make this white because this is going to be a white label. Then, if you'll notice, both of these are cut files. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this top one to a draw file. So I'm just going to go up to line type and I'm going to say draw. So now this is actually just a drawn piece of the file. This is going to be a cut. So this will be our physical label. And this is going to be a little drawing that sits over it. So it's just going to be drawn onto this label. So let me go back so that I can have them lined up, but they are two separate ones, and you can verify that over here. One says cut, one says draw. So we'll be using the pen tool for that part. So I like this. I think it just adds nice dimension to it. I'm going to make this bigger for you guys for a second just so we can really see it. But I like how the line just adds a little bit of dimension and a little bit of personality, because we'll have a little cut on the outside and a draw on the inside. So now what we'll do is let me go ahead and size this. So I believe I said I was going to have it be 3 inches, 3 inches wide and about 2 inches tall. So let's get that out of the way first. You wouldn't believe how many times I have designed a label and then forgot to size it in the excitement of getting it printed. So sometimes I like to size my things right away just to make sure I don't forget. So I'm going to do 3 by 2. I think that's going to be really, really nice. I might even just go a tad shorter than 2. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and lock that. Now unlocking it just allows me to change my width and my height. If you keep it locked, then they stay constant. So once you move one, the other one stays the same, or stays with the other one. So what I'll do is I will go ahead and just make this bigger so we can just look at this together really big. And what we're going to do next is we're going to add our text. So I like to add my text in separate lines. So I'm going to do 3 separate lines on this. So I'm going to add 3 text boxes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click the text and I am going to go up here to the font and I am going to hit filter and select writing. Now this allows you just to narrow down the fonts that are good candidates for writing and for using the pen. So I would recommend doing that when you're searching for a font. So the font I'm actually going to be using is called Millennial, and it'll say right under there, it's a Cricut Access font and it is a nice writing font. So I'm going to click that one and our first word is going to be hour. Whoops. Okay, there we go. So our first word is hour, and I'm just going to drag these over to the right here. Then I'm going to add a next text box, and the next one is say quarantine. Whoops. Okay. And then the last one is going to say memories. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I am going to just get these kind of squared away here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to select all 3 and I am going to size them down. And I'm actually going to unlock this and kind of play with this font a little bit and kind of make it a little wide, just to kind of play around. And then I'm going to drag it over onto the label and kind of do a little bit more sizing this way, kind of see where I like it. That looks pretty nice. So I'm going to click them apart. This is why I like having them separate, is because then I can, you know, put them just about anywhere I'd like. Okay. That looks pretty good. So now I'm going to select them all again, and this is where I kind of take my time and just tweak as much as I'd like. Let's see, let me grab them over here. Sometimes it's easier to select things in the layers panel. So I'm going to unlock this again, and I am just going to size it down and make it a little wide that way. Okay. That looks good. So now what I'll do is I am going to go ahead and select all 3 again, and I am going to come up to here to align, and I'm going to say center horizontally. That's going to make sure everything's centered. And now that these 3 words are centered together, I'm going to attach them. So now they are all going to be together all the time. So now what I'll do is I will select everything. And I will say, let's see, I'm going to say center horizontally. In fact, I can just say center, center. There we go. So now it has centered my label perfectly fine. So everything, all the words are going to be centered with the design on the back or the label. I'm actually going to move this up just a tad. For some reason, it just doesn't seem quite centered to my eye, and that's completely fine. I tend to do that a lot, actually. I get it, but it's nice to get it close with the align, and then if something's bothering you with your eye, you can just kind of tweak it from there, because it's more important that your eye likes it than anything else, so make yourself happy. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select everything, and I am going to go ahead and attach them together. That way they are going to, once we send this to our Joy, they are going to write and cut in this exact fashion. So everything is going to do its job in this way. So that means the text will write right in the middle as we like it. The line will draw right where it should. So what I'll do, one more thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my text and I'm just going to double check that we are using the fine point 0.4 black pen. So I'm just going to double check that. And I'm also going to verify that this is doing the same thing as well. 0.4 fine point pen with black. Okay, so I'm just going to make sure that we're using the same pen for everything. That way our Joy doesn't try to ask us for different pens. If you guys have seen my label video, I'll link it up here. The Joy sometimes will ask you for multiple pens, so one of the things I like to do beforehand is just make sure I have the same pen selection selected so that it doesn't do that. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to come up here, we're going to say Cricut Joy, because that's what we're using, and we will click Make It. Let's see if everything does it like it should. So we're doing smart materials because we have our smart label writable vinyl, and we are going to click Done, and then I'm going to verify that I have it about 3, okay. Good. Is that more than 3? No, it's not. Okay, I was thinking this was more than 3 inches, but it has scooted over. So, okay, so double checking my sign. We're doing without a mat, and it looks great. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to click Continue, and it's just going to locate our little Joy via Bluetooth. Okay, and then I'm going to look through Popular, and I am going to try to find Smart Label Writable Vinyl. That's what we're using. So we're going to click that. Default pressure is fine. I'm going to load my black pen first, and then it says our additional tools will be the fine point blade. So this is all perfect. So it's just letting us know what order we're going to be doing. So it's going to tell us and prompt us to do the black pen first. Then once that's done, everything will pop up and it'll tell us to load the blade. So it'll walk you right through it. So remember, the Joy is buttonless, so everything will be done on your device. In terms of clicking, so you'll click things on your device, your smart tablet, or your computer. So we'll go ahead and load our material, and then once it's loaded, this little button over here will pop up and will allow us to click Go.
Okay, so now we're just going to get our smart vinyl out of the little box. I like to keep the smart vinyl in the box just because it looks a lot like the regular vinyl, and even though it does say on the back, it just makes me nervous that I'm going to forget which is which. So, but it does actually say that it's a smart writable permanent on the back. But just in case you're nervous like I am, sometimes just keeping the box handy is nice. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to open the Joy, and what I'll do is I'm just going to, let me bring it up here just a little. I am going to clip open the little clamp here, and I'm going to take my blade and I'm just going to set it to the side, and then I'm going to take the cap off of my Joy pen. Now this is just the 0.4 fine point pen that comes with the Joy, and I'm just going to simply drop it right in and close the clamp. It's so easy. So it's just as easy as that. So now, oh, it looks like I got some scraps. Actually, oh, that's written on, must have been from a test that I was doing last time. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I am just going to load my little vinyl into the machine. So now it's just going to pull it in and out real quick. It's just measuring to make sure we have enough vinyl for the project, which is something I love about it. And then what we can do is once it's measured and verified we're good to go, it will have us click Go. So now it's just drawing the little perimeter, so it drew that first, and now it's working on the letters. And it's fun because it does the letters in just about any order. So it's kind of fun. It kind of keeps you guessing what it's going to do next. Now, one thing I didn't mention is I kind of like to let my my roll just kind of fall off the table here. Sometimes if you leave it in a roll and start the writing, it's possible that I think it makes sense to me that it's possible that it might kind of interfere with the writing if it starts bubbling up or it's not laying perfectly flat. So just to be safe, I like to just let it roll off my table just to make sure it doesn't do anything silly with the pen. Okay, so it's all done writing. It looks really, really good. So now what we're going to do is it has prompted me on my computer to install the fine point blade. So I'm just going to open up the clamp and take my pen out, replacing the cap. And then I'm going to just literally drop it in and close the clamp. So easy. And then I'll click go on my computer, and now it will just start cutting around the perimeter. So this is going to be super fast. And it's already done. All right, so now what I'll do is I'll just click unload, just like that. Oh, it looks awesome. It looks really, really cute. I love it. And it's worked and written everything perfectly. I don't see any smudges or anything. It looks wonderful. So I'm just going to go ahead and close my little Joy, and then I can take my scissors. But you know what I like to do with the Smart materials is I like to use my paper trimmer just because I like to make sure I have a really nice clean edge when I'm leaving my remaining piece on the roll, just because when I go to load this again, I like to know that I have a really nice straight edge that my paper trimmer can do a much better job than I can. So, okay, that looks really great. So now with a pair of scissors, what I'll do is I will just, let me move this out of the way, but I will just cut off my little extra pieces just to save the material. I always like to keep my scraps. And that's a pretty small scrap, but you just never know what you could create with that. Sometimes I'm surprised myself what I can do with the scraps. Okay, let me make sure I have this the right way. It looks like I do. Okay, just making sure that this is the front. So now what I'll do is I'm literally going to peel this like I would a sticker. So I'm just going to peel away the back here. And just being gentle. It's pretty thin yet durable, if that makes sense. It's a nice thin piece, but it looks sturdy too, you know? Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to try to center that the best that I can. I might just center that kind of within that scallop there. Aw, looks so sweet. Okay, I'm just going to lay it down like I would a sticker and kind of going towards the edges. And so no need for weeding tools, no need for you know, your scraping tool. You can just apply this like a sticker. So it's very, very easy. And there we go. There we have it. So now we have a nice little label for the front of our, oops, I think I have a tiny bubble, so I'll just kind of keep rubbing that out. Now we have a nice label for the front of our little journal. I think this will be really, really fun, and I'm excited because I'm excited about the idea of doing a visual journal because, to be honest, even though we've been given a lot of time and we've been given the gift of time right now, sometimes it seems hard to find the time to still sit down and journal. So I like the idea. I think, at least for the season of life I'm in with young children, I think it's going to be fun and easy just to take little pictures. Plus, I think it's going to be really fun to look back on when you can see a visual of what our day looked like. So I think this is going to be a really fun project that I'll be very grateful for. I'll say it that way. I think in right now, I think it's going to just add another thing to do during the day, but I think in the end, I'm going to be really grateful that I did. So if you guys enjoyed this, please give me a thumbs up. I would love that. And I've listed everything in the bottom of the description box, so be sure you visit that in case you have any questions about the materials that were used during this project. And I hope to see you guys in the next video. If you guys are new, welcome, and I'd love if you would subscribe. We have a lot of fun things coming up on the channel, and I've just done a lot of designing, and a lot of things have arrived for the craft channel, so it's going to be really fun. So I hope you guys stick around, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Let me know how y'all are doing. I hope you're crafting and having fun. All right, see you later.